this system isn't just formed from that. The system is that, right? Like
Mm.
these trafficking networks still exist, right? So we need to incentivize a different type of person to come into power. Is how I
Yeah, I
see it.
think I think you're
It,
definitely.
it,
It's not just a Trump thing, but he is the guy who ran on this
Oh,
very thing.
for
So
sure, for
so
sure.
he himself. It's not like we attached his name to it.
Yeah.
He did. He ran on it. Said he was gonna do this, that, the third. He's in there, not doing it,
Oh,
and
but,
now
yeah,
he's
for
and
trying
sure.
to.
see that, but see
Yeah.
that's what's weirding me out, Jesus. Like he ran on that, and the whole thing. They keep like Mark made it a partisan issue. He was like the left, the left, the left. And I'm like, wait a minute, it's everybody in those files. What does the left have to do with these files coming out? I don't understand. What part did the left like? Is this some the left conspiracy? What did the left have to do with it? How can you even
I don't think
how
Mark
does your
did that.
mind even go into that?
I think Trump did that when he said this is a leftist hoax. I
It's
don't
So
think
so
Mark did
right.
that. Mark is just following the lead of the group
There's
that he
something, but
voted for, and that's the
I'm
message
saying
that
like,
they're
what are you
giving.
but it's
So
not
talking
it's
about?
not
What I
just
said
it's
was,
not just
why
Donald
didn't the
Trump.
left do anything?
Well, so I think a lot of that what happens though is part of them trying to muddy the waters. You know, they want to divide it, make it a left versus right issue. There's a conversation to be had. Oh, that's hot. That's hot. Welcome, guys, to another episode of the Conversation to Be Had podcast. I'm your host, Charlo. That's my co-host, Rashawn. And today we're going to talk about the Epstein files. Well, the latest batch of Epstein files. And we're going to try to get to, I mean, what it really means for, in the grand scope of things. Because, I mean, they just keep lying to us. And I don't know why anybody believe anything our government tells us nowadays. So we're going to bring in the panel here. What's up,
Hey,
guys?
what's up, guys?
Howdy.
All right, we're here to talk about the Epstein files today. Yet another release of another batch of files. This is getting ridiculous a little bit. I gotta ask to start off. At what point do we get to where the waters are so muddy that we can't even have an investigation? You understand what I mean by that? Like, I mean, it's so much going on right now. I mean, we're getting to the point where, I mean, they're overfilling us. Like, there's no way we can go through 3 million or whatever, however many files there's no way for one person to go through it, or each individual person to go through it, bit by bit. And so, what I'm asking is, are the waters are starting to become too muddy to be able to convict anybody besides just the Maxwell chick? We'll start with you, Mark. So you can, oh my God. Yes. We'll start with you, Mark.
I don't know. I don't think we're ever going to get all of the files ever. I just think, they're going to hide and protect themselves. You know,
Okay.
you got to look at who's listed. It's a lot of powerful people that got a lot more money than us. That's for sure.
Yeah, billionaires. Mostly everybody on the list is billionaires. So, all right, cool. That was quick response. I'm proud of you, Mark. Man, I am proud of you. Hey, Mike, welcome to the podcast, man.
Hello.
Uh, what do you think? You think all this information they're feeding us, and do you think it's gonna come to a point where the waters are so muddy that we won't be able to convict anybody besides
Yeah,
uh
I mean, I think it really matters on like what the people do, right? Like I think like people putting pressure on the government getting out in the streets, joining mass movements, that kind of stuff, protesting, all those kinds of things can bring the system to a halt, and then we can extract demands from them. But I actually believe at the end of the day, like what the Epstein files show is like this is not just this group of people doing it. This is like a feature of how our system works. We're incentivizing the worst among us to rise to the top. And then, it's not just what's in these files. I mean, they're starting wars all over the world. They're putting people in human trafficking networks, all this different kinds of crazy stuff. I think, like, really it's going to take us coming together and starting some type of revolutionary movement to build a new system to even be able to begin to really hold these men accountable is kind of how I feel about it.
Okay. Cool.
All right. Rod, you good?
Yeah,
Did you hear the question?
I did.
Okay. Charlo.
The question was, with the release of this latest batch of files, we're getting onto like millions and millions of, files. So I was saying that like there's no way any person could like read the entire thing and go through the entire, like if you're going to come up to a conclusion, there's no way you can go through the entire thing in your mind. Like after, there's no way you could read all that stuff is basically what I'm saying. And with all the back and forth, there becomes a stage where the waters just get muddy. And what I was asking was, are we coming to a point where we're just getting so much, the waters are so muddy that no one's going to get convicted other than, Maxwell? Because she's the only one they got.
I think that's their goal. I think releasing the files in the way that they are releasing the files is it's a time-honored legal maneuver during discovery and it's a criminal trial. If the defense is trying to hide something, they'll flood the prosecution with, stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks of documents, hoping they don't get to it. And I think that's part of this. I also think, the way that, I mean, it's an absolute shit show. The way that they have organized or not organized and redacted what they've redacted and not redacted what they have not redacted. It's not. You want to ask the question if it's ineptitude or malice, but it's not ineptitude. The FBI is filled with professionals, regardless of who's driving the bus, right? Same thing with the Justice Department. Less and less every day. They keep quitting, and I can't blame them. But I don't know. I'm drifting from your question a little bit because I don't know. I'm not sure how to predict what's going to happen. I think.
The reason I asked it is because we're getting to the point where like you're getting so much information. Are we getting to the point where we're going to get lost in the storm and nobody's going to get convicted? Like they're making it so we can't really focus in on anything. It's just so many moving parts. And, I'm just, I was just asking the panel the question, are we getting to the point where the waters are going to be so muddy that no one gets convicted, besides the Maxwell chick?
And I spun out on the sound of my own voice. Sorry for that. Yeah, I think that's entirely possible that nobody gets convicted, at least in the next, 3 years. I think after that is anybody's guess. And I think, I think after that, it depends on the state that these chuckleheads leave the Justice Department in, how long it takes to weed through that shit. I don't know.
Okay.
No predictions.
See?
Yeah, I agree with a lot with what Rod said, because I don't think you're going to see much in the terms of prosecutions while we have this Attorney General and President and FBI Director in charge. I think it is almost, and no one can. we're not just assuming they're protecting people in the government. We know that they are. The simple fact is that Pam Bondi refused to even have any of the victims interviewed by the FBI, Department of Justice, or any other organization. And that shows like the most basic of steps that you take to investigate is to interview the victim, and they haven't done it. So that shows that they have no intention of actually prosecuting this. But I'll tell you what does give me hope, though, is that other countries are not doing that. So you have in the UK, you have the king and saying that he would support any police investigation for the former prince, because now we know that he gave critical security information to Epstein, which was illegal. We know that in Norway, you have a couple of the politicians there use their ability to get visas for Russian teenagers who ended up being Epstein's victims. We know that in UAE that we had someone, the Sultan, the CEO of DP World, resign because of his interactions with Epstein, which we can get into later. So you're seeing some movement on the world stage. It's interesting that you have a king in the UK that's willing to prosecute his own brother, but Pam Bondi won't do anything here with anyone else. So I agree with Rod that while this administration is in charge, we likely won't see any movement in terms of criminal investigations, but that doesn't mean the public won't know information. We have independent people looking at this. We have journalists. We have the entire globe looking at this. So just because people won't be prosecuted in the United States doesn't mean there won't be movement on information and knowledge about the people involved.
All right. Jesus.
I'm with Mike, man. Let the revolution kick off. V, on that last point, to me, it don't matter if everybody and their mom knows. The president is still the president and no one's being held accountable. That's a problem. I don't care who knows what they did. They need to be punished. All of them. It'd be weird that Maxwell's the only person that gets locked up in a trafficking. Like, you had to traffic them to somebody. Like,
all those girls, that's a lot of girls, dude.
Right? Like, make it make sense. I'm getting arrested for trafficking. To who? Somebody was paying.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody. All of those emails, Lex. So they come out and tell us this week that Lex was a co-conspirator. Did they go arrest this dude? Did they hold him accountable for that? Nope. Pam Bondi lied. They busted her out on that. What'd she say? The Dow Jones is up 50 grand. So there's zero accountability, which is why I'm with Mike. Let the revolution pop off, because that's the only way it's going to change. People are constantly trying to tell us, oh, don't protest. Protesting is that's America's built on that. So, to answer your question, I don't think there is a such thing as it gets too muddy. There's no such thing. That's a cop-out. There's no such thing. Oh, there was 25 people killed. Well, it's kind of a mess in that house. I guess we better not investigate. Like, no. You start cleaning house one by one. You know Lex was on there? Go get homie. Trump's in there more times than Harry Potter in them books. Bruh, lock him up. Do your job. The problem is they think that they don't work for us. And that's why I'm with Mike.
When I listen to Pam Bondi, that's all I think. Like, who does she think she works for? Him or us?
Well, she clearly works
definitely.
for him. Yeah.
There's a very clear that.
Yeah. All right, Concrete Rose, what you got?
Yeah, so as far as how everything's being released, I think that's by design. I think they're doing that on purpose to do exactly what Charles, you're bringing up. They're trying to muddy the waters. They want to make it so conflated and so verbose that people just give up. It's kind of like your taxes. There's no reason why we have to fill out all these line items and stuff like that to do taxes. They do that so that you just give up and you go have somebody else pay somebody else to do it. Well, that's what they're doing with these file releases. I also think that the fallout radius of all this is bigger than just the Democrats, the Republicans, and the president and everything like that. The blast radius is way huger than that. This is at a global scale at this point. So, while I do feel that Trump and there's a lot of American people that are going to be implicated and everything like that, I think that we're going to see this explode into like a way bigger. We're already seeing it to a way bigger thing. Do I think that it's going to get too muddied? No, I don't think it's going to get too muddied. I think people are going to continue to ask questions and they're going to continue to press. And I ride alongside what Mike said, as far as the revolution and such. I think that's something that is going to have to take place in order for us to either, one, get real answers, or two, change who's in power. So that'd be my answer.
Mm.
Okay. Cool. I think my own opinion is it has a lot to do with who's in power. And the reason I say that is because, I mean, if you just take a normal situation, like let's say Mark, for example. Oh my God. So Mark's whole thing is the left, the left, the left. Okay. He did a whole paragraph on the left, the left, the left. And so my response to him was, how is an issue of pedophilia and human sex trafficking, how is that a partisan issue? I mean, what, like, your political view, what does that have anything to do with whether or not you're a pedophile or a sex trafficker? But I think it's that type of, and to be honest with you, I think he's just doing it because Trump's in it so many times, and they don't want to, have to defend Trump. They get tired of it, and so they come up with anything to dispel anything that he might look bad, may put him in a bad light. Another thing he said, so a couple podcasts ago, he's telling us about, I think it was your niece, and how somebody put their hands on your niece or did something, and you went to jail for punching them or what, something. I don't know. I can't remember the exact story off the top of my head. But the point was, your niece said somebody did something to her, and you reacted. Did you ask her for proof? When these girls claim that these dudes did stuff to them, you ask them for proof. Like, you could have it 10, 15 years down the road anyway. That was a crazy question, but you ask, where's the proof? How in the world would a girl who was raped as a child 15 years ago have proof of that right now? But you asked that, and I couldn't understand why you wouldn't ask your niece for proof before you go punch somebody in the face or be violent towards somebody else because she said that he touched her or he put his hands on her. That's why I'm saying I feel like it's the Trumpism in him that's doing that, because I see how he acts with that situation. When you take Trump and his problems out of that, I see how he reacts like a normal person. Yeah, she said that you didn't need any proof. She said that you put your hands on her, so that's all you needed to go on. Am I right?
Well, no, like I saw the handprints on her, so like I had evidence that there was some bad shit going down.
So you had to see handprints on her?
What are we doing? What is this? Is this the
Well, that's how we found out,
Island?
brother.
No, because so you had to see handprints on her, or you wouldn't have did nothing.
That's how we found out, is we saw the handprints on her.
But she didn't tell you.
No, we had to
Okay,
find
so
out from her like what happened.
okay, because she was a victim, huh? So they kind of have problems coming forward with stuff like that, huh? Till they get up enough
Absolutely,
courage,
they do.
huh?
Yeah,
But you asked these
absolutely.
girls to show you proof before you
But
placed
what I
judgment on
said
these
was
guys. You asked her to
what
show you
I
proof.
said was
Show me
what
proof.
I said was DOJ has had these files for how long? 6 years, 7 years? The investigations started back in 2008. Like, and I agree. Why is there nobody being prosecuted? If there's evidence, why is nobody being prosecuted?
What can they be prosecuted for? We have a
I don't know.
statute of
You have to have
limitations.
evidence to prosecute.
See what the way you prosecute them is you
No,
don't vote for them, you don't support them. That's the way you can prosecute them, because I don't know if from a legal aspect how much you could actually do because of the statute of limitations. But you can do like they did in the UK, just totally be through with them. Like from a human being standpoint, like we're not going to mess with you. You could do that. You could not, ask the victims to prove to you that 15 years ago, a group of billionaires touched her like she's got a shot in the world of doing that. I mean, you could do that. You could show her some support. That's what you could do, just like you did your niece.
well,
See
yeah,
that's what
but
I'm
the
saying,
question
Mark. The normal human being in you is just like me. But then you put that Trump could actually be connected in, and then now your mind's going into a whole different direction. You're defensive. Now the girl's got to show you proof of come on, man. Come on.
Wait a second. One thing is there is no statute of limitation on murder,
Well, I mean, I didn't
rape,
know. That's what I was asking. So, I mean, I didn't know.
and I don't think you prosecute them just by not voting for them. Like, you prosecute them by putting these mugs in prison. They're obviously afraid to go to prison. You don't
put
let
them
them
in
go
a
live the
freaking wood
$1 million
chipper.
lifestyle. You say what?
Put them in a wood chipper. They don't need prison. They need a wood chipper.
Nah, that's too easy. What you need to do with a guy like Trump is you lock him up, right? You don't let him talk to anyone, but you give him the false idea that he is talking to everyone. You put a camera in there like he's broadcasting, and you put a little counter in there that says how many people are watching, and that number is always zero no matter what. And you just never let this dude talk to anyone ever again until his last days. That's what you do. You don't just kill him. That's too easy. Like, you got to punish the dude with the one thing he wants to do. Talk all day and talk his way out of things.
Speaking
Eliminate
of,
that.
You've thought about this, Jesus. You've thought about this.
It's easy for him. It's easy. It's like, dude, just cut this dude's mic off permanently and make him feel like he's got no attention ever. Oh, last thing. Rename everything that has his name on it to Obama.
Oh, I can't.
That
wait.
would be the true punishment for a guy
can't
like
wait
you
Trump.
for
would
that.
kill him. You would kill him.
Right. That would
Yeah.
that would end it. But ultimately, though, Chalo, I think you make a point here. I think I kind of get what's going on. Is I think when people support Trump, right, they find themselves stuck, which I have no idea why. They just can't say my bad. So they have to like ride the train all the way out. And then they'll defend it. Just like you're pointing out, like, why would you defend this stuff? And I feel like people see him as like a rock star. I don't know what it is. It's weird.
It's the cult of personality, right?
But-
It's what it
Yeah,
is.
but it's
But I just think they don't want to admit that their superstar has flaws, which is wild because even
Big
without
flaws.
the Epstein files, this dude is crazy flawed. Like, it's not like this is the only thing.
Right.
Yeah, I think.
So
I think
they're
though.
protecting what they voted for or who they support.
Yeah, I think though. I caution people about viewing this as only like the Epstein files is only about Trump, right? It's terrible
Yes.
the things Trump's accused of and doing
No, it's
there, but
not.
there's
yeah, I
hundreds
wasn't
of
saying that
people, Democrats and Republicans. I think part of the
either.
problem is that
Yes.
the people that are in the files are the people investigating the
Mhm.
files, right?
There
So,
you go.
so that's why we need a new system, right?
Yeah,
Because
for sure.
you can't trust. Like the reason they want that power is to do these things. They can get anything they want in the world, and the only thing they get off on is humiliating people who they view as beneath them. I mean, what's in those files is they don't care about the rest of us, right? Like, I don't think we want people like that representing us. So that's kind of like, this is why we need a whole new. I mean, Thomas Jefferson, right? He bred slaves. Sally Hemings was 14 years old the first time he raped her, right? Like, he had like children who were his slaves that he had enslaved on his plantation, right? And like, this system isn't just formed from that. The system is that, right? Like, these trafficking networks still exist, right? So we need to incentivize a different type of person to come into power. Is how
Yeah,
I see it.
I think you're definitely. It's not just a Trump thing, but he is the guy who ran on this
Oh,
very thing.
for
So,
sure, for sure.
so it's not like we attached his name to it.
Yeah.
He did. He ran on it. Said he was gonna do this, that, the third. He's in there, not doing it.
Oh,
And
yeah,
now
for
he's
sure.
trying
See
to.
that, but see that's what's weirding me out, Jesus. Like he ran on that, and the whole thing. They keep like Mark made it a partisan issue. He was like the left, the left, the left, and I'm like, wait a minute, it's everybody in those files. What does the left have to do with these files coming out? I don't understand. What part did the left like? Is this some the left conspiracy? What did the left have to do with it? How can you even?
I don't think
How
Mark
does your
did that.
mind even go into that?
I think Trump did that when he said this is a leftist hoax.
It's
I don't think Mark did
right.
that. Mark is just following the lead of the group
There's
that he
something, but
voted for, and that's the
I'm
message
saying,
that they're
what are
giving.
you
but it's
talking
not.
about?
It's not
What I
just.
said
It's
was,
not just
why
Donald
didn't
Trump.
the left do anything?
Well, so I think a lot of that what happens though is part of them trying to muddy the waters. You know, they want to divide it, make it a left versus right issue, and it's not. It's not. You know what I mean? This is
How
the
could
top.
it be?
Well, I
How,
know what I'm saying though.
like,
This is
how
the
could
people
it
that
be?
this is the top 1% of the people in the world.
This is the top
They
1% of the 1%.
right, right, right. They're running a global human sex trafficking ring, right? You know what I mean? But how do you keep the people distracted? Is you throw them a little crumbs. You're gonna have fall guys like we're seeing right now. Ghislaine Maxwell, she's a fall guy. There's 7 more that just went down. The Wexler guy and all them. They're gonna be fall guys. But the main people that were part of this, they're not, I don't think much is gonna happen right now, because we're fighting over left versus right, but really that doesn't matter at all. And real quick, I want to say one thing because Mike actually made a good point, and I read a little something that you have wrote the other earlier today, and it was interesting because he kind of traced back the roots of human trafficking and sexual assault on children and everything like that throughout history. And this isn't something that's new, you know. And it kind of blew my mind how you did that, Mike. I got to give that to you. How this is almost like it's been woven into the actual stars and stripes and red and blue and the flags, or any flag in any country, you know.
Any flag, any country. Any
Yeah,
flag,
exactly.
any country.
Yeah, it's been
My
woven
only
in there.
problem, my only problem with that through line going back to Jefferson and Sally Hemings is it doesn't go back nearly far enough. This is not an
Oh,
American. It's not. It's not. It's
No, he
here right
he
now.
took it.
Not an
He,
American.
he took it
no,
back to the Romans. That's what he.
no, yeah, for sure. The first text in Western canon, the Iliad, right? It's about Achilles. That starts Helen of Troy uh, was his sex slave that was taken from him by his commander in battle, and he refused to go to war over it until his male lover was killed by the opposition, and then he rages through that text and murders a bunch of people, and he's celebrated as like this hero in Western literature, right? This is
Right.
uh, what socialists would say is this is a result of class society, patriarchy, right? The minute that we start having surplus resources, they need a way to fight over them, so they sort of put men in charge. Inheritance is a way of passing on their wealth to the next generation, and we start to see these kinds of crimes of genocide, slavery, these types of sort of results of these empires that they're building, the Greeks, the Romans, all those sort of ancient societies. So it does go back a long way, but I think like we're still finding ways to incentivize that top 1% in this increasingly globalized world we live in, right? Where the economy is really a global economy. You look at these Epstein files, another thing is he was running intelligence between all these different countries. Like they weren't really working for any one nation. They're all sort of playing each other off each other. Hey, let's go over here, invade this country and get their resources and enslave some of their women and children, right? So like they're like these things are in the emails. So I mean this is like why we need a sort of revolt of like working class regular people rising up and taking power from them. Yeah. So.
I don't disagree with you, but I just wanted to bring back just almost to like modern times for just a minute, because Chalo, you asked a question: why would someone like Mark say those things? The left. Let's remember why we are even talking about the Epstein files in the first place. This started out as something I have to admit that I thought was so crazy, because most people that know me know that I am like anti-conspiracy theory. Like, I'm the anti-conspiracy theorist, and I am now feel like I have become a conspiracy theorist. So the QAnon theories were like, there's a cabal of rich and powerful people on a global scale that are sex trafficking humans and little babies and girls. And I was like, these fucking idiots, what are they talking about? No one gave them the time of day. I didn't give them the time of day. And so, all the times you saw this on Reddit and 4chan and social media of saying there's one person behind it, and we have to find out who's behind it, and all these politicians are behind it, and they're just raping our children, and they said crazy things other than that too, like they're murdering them, they're eating them, and all this other stuff. And of course, no one paid them any attention, including me, right? Like, I call them all freaks and losers. And now what we're finding out is so much of that has been true. But the one thing is that the QAnon theories were all partisan based. They were all saying that Trump was going to be the hero that actually ended the cabal, that it was Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton and Democrats that were drinking the blood of babies and raping these children. And that's what they were basing on. It was partisan based. And now what's come out is that it's not partisan at all. There's Republicans, there's Democrats, there's independents, there's people all over the world that have nothing to do with politics, just about money, just businessmen who will change their political stance based on how much money they can get. And now those individuals are like, wait a minute, my loyalties were to this guy and this brand, the MAGA movement, the QAnon theories, the Q. How do I completely switch my mind to say it's everyone? That's the problem, is that they actually were right on their conspiracy theory, but their conspiracy theory was frankly too specific. It's actually broader than that. And I feel like a crazy person. I feel like I should take a piece of aluminum foil and wrap my head around it, because what I'm saying is nonsense, and yet it's true.
I think that you're right. Like, I used to laugh about all that stuff too, but I think part of it is too also because we're human. We have humanity, and it's hard for us to believe that there are people out there that would do these sort of things. You know what I mean? But I mean, I also have to always remind myself that we treat human beings as commodities. And when you treat a human being as a commodity, it's really not that hard to think that stuff that's happening, that's being said in these like chat rooms and everything like that are actually true, because they're not looked at as human beings. They're looked at as your chair, your desk. It's a commodity to them. And that's why I also agree with Mike that the system needs to change. There needs to be a whole other system in place in order to help combat this type of thing. But we can get into that a little bit deeper. I know, Rod, you wanted to say something, brother. I cut you off a long time ago. I'm sorry.
Oh no, man! God, there's like 6 different directions I'd like to comment on. I will say this. I will ask this question to the group, though, that this is a thing that I absolutely marvel at, not just in terms of the Epstein file, but this point in history. Can you point to any past president from either party who, upon being accused in a sworn statement of raping a child and threatening to kill that child in the way that another child was killed, can you imagine, just point to the other president where the world literally wouldn't stop?
Right.
Stop. And, I think we're, the phrase, the word that gets tossed around is normalized, but I think we're so fucking numb, top to bottom, by everything that's happening, that, I think a lot of us went, oh yeah, oh, child rape, okay, you had child rape on the bingo card, like, what? We're there. We are there. We are at the point of raping and killing children, and nobody seems to be doing anything. The people in a position to do something aren't. The people that are in a position to stop them from doing something are, and successfully. And everybody else in the middle The country didn't stop. Everybody now knows about this one specific allegation inside the Epstein files. And we are so steeped in conspiracy theory, and nobody knows what the truth of anything is anymore, that the world has not stopped at the notion that the president of the United States was in any way involved with a dude who may or may not have killed the children that he was raping. And I'm having a real sort of throw my hands up moment, top to bottom, with the Epstein files, where if this doesn't stop the clock, what does? And I think, Mike, you talk about a revolution. I think I don't know you. I don't know your history. I don't know what you're about. But I hear the word revolution get tossed around at kitchen tables. Some of them are really nice kitchen tables, and I don't think we don't know what it means. Look, my state freaked out during COVID when the supermarkets ran out of garlic. Okay, ran out of garlic. Now, I love garlic, but this state freaked out when we ran out of garlic. We are no more prepared to orchestrate or deal with a revolution than the man in the moon. And I don't, you don't know what that means. I don't know that you don't know what that means, but I know that most of the country really doesn't know what that means. I know that Jesus knows.
No, I know it means that, people are going to have to get uncomfortable with being uncomfortable if they want real change, and be prepared for that. But I also believe that, part of what's going on right now is that they throw out little bits and pieces and crumbs of just comfort. You know what I mean? They scare you. They say, hey, if you lose your job, you don't go into work, you will lose your health insurance. You know what I mean? Or they tell you something like, hey, if you don't do this, you won't have that. Well, we got to get used to not having that for a minute, honestly, in order for there to be any real change. This whole thing is structured for us to basically be their workers and to be that commodity for them to increase their wealth. Yeah. Well, the only way to stop that is to stop letting them use our labor to increase their wealth. And that means we're going to have to get uncomfortable with being uncomfortable. And me personally, I'm okay with that. I know that there's going to be a growing period. There's going to be growing pains and everything like that, because I know in the outcome, at the end of the day, that's when real change is going to happen. And that's just personally me, and I think there's a lot more people out there that are aware of that we actually know of, but they're being silenced because they don't want that out there.
Most revolutions happen because of an economic issue, like lack of food, right? Most revolutions happen when people can't afford to feed their children, when they can't put food on the table. Right now, even though grocery prices are increasing and stuff like that, people can still feed their children. And until that changes, I don't think you're going to see the type of revolution that Mike is talking about, because I agree with Mike here that we need a revolution. I mean, we've had how many podcasts about socialism and how capitalism is killing this country, right? And how it's literally killing people. But the reason why we won't have any sort of revolution like that is because people are complacent, because they can go to the store right now and there's garlic there, right? Right? There's toilet paper, there's garlic, there's meat. It may be expensive, but they can still afford to eat. The things that we rely on, like being able to pay your rent, for the most part, people are still able to do that. When that stops, that's when you see revolution. The French Revolution didn't happen because they lost freedoms or civil liberties. It happens because they couldn't eat. In Iran, it was a culmination of civil liberties and then the economy hitting the shitter. It's like that almost everywhere. When the real revolution happens, it's based on not being able to eat. And that, Rashawn, I don't know if that will happen, because it will be, the people higher up will prevent that from hitting that last mark. They'll give you just enough to shut you up and like, hey, we know that you're not comfortable, but here's another potato. Now shut up.
Yeah, what I would say, though, is that I think any change that's ever happened in America has come off the back of a mass movement growing up to put pressure on the system. The civil rights movement.
Yeah, that wasn't about food.
And the union movement
is a thing.
The union movement in the 1920s.
It was still economics.
Yeah, so I think that
with that.
I think
that's
that like
that's blanket.
I think that like building building towards a revolution is like any revolution that's ever been successful has had people on the ground organizing it way early. Everybody's calling them crazy. They're doing the work anyways. I'm in an organization. We've more than doubled our size, like 2 different times in the last 3 years in our branch. So like, like we are growing fast. Like people are coming into our movement. We're getting more and more people out in the streets with the 5501 protests, with other protests that we're putting on. We put on a protest at an ICE detention center, and I'm in the suburbs of Houston, Texas, in a pretty conservative area. We turned out 1,500 people to protest ICE at a private detention center, right? So, so this movement is happening. It's growing, right? And it grows exponentially because every person we bring in, they're talking to their friends and their family. So I think that it's possible. I think it's possible within our lifetime. I don't know about next year, but like if we build towards it, I think we can make it happen. So that's just what I would say.
Yeah, and I think it takes, and I also think it takes, like what you said, Mike. It takes awareness, getting the word out, and educating people. You know what I mean? So so it's not always. I mean, I hear what you're saying, V, but it's not always going to be economic. I think that knowledge is power. I know it's a generic term, but that's really true. If you go out there and you educate the masses and make them understand, why the system is set up the way it is, and why it's hurting them the way that it is, or why they can't get ahead like they're supposed to. Well, you're going to start gaining more and more supporters. It doesn't always have to be like, hey, there's no more bread on the table. It can simply be, hey, here's some more knowledge. Let me educate you. And that could be a catalyst towards change as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think change isn't always tied to money. I get it. You could say, oh, the protesters had to eat that day. Yeah, okay, I got it. But that's not why they were out there protesting. Like, change happens. You think the civil rights movement happened just because of economics?
I don't think it was just because of economics,
Okay,
but it's a
that's
huge
my
factor.
My point is because you threw a blanket over all of it. Like, anytime there's change, it's because a person couldn't eat. Like, it's not just that.
The labor movement and the civil rights movement there was a lot of direct connections between that. A lot of blacks couldn't get jobs because of the racism and the Jim Crow legislation in the South, right? Little signs were like only whites allowed. And it wasn't even just blacks. It was no Mexicans hired, no blacks being hired. So it was a labor movement, and that's an economic reason. So maybe I should rephrase and say maybe I made it too simplistic, but economics is a major factor in these revolutionary events that happened. And
I could agree with that. I won't agree with it all happened because of the money.
But my point is that
sacrifice, right? But so is sacrifice.
Go ahead.
And I have spent the time in the protests. I'm not organizing, but I'm going for sure. I can tell you, I've sacrificed nothing at those protests, right? I've made my voice heard. I've stood up and been counted, but I've sacrificed nothing, right? I think, but I hear you when you say economics is at least one of a few at the heart of things. That far I will agree with. I mean, and
I could agree with
that. My mom owned a house in Massachusetts, and when she got the original deed from the house, which was turn of the 20th century, the house was covenanted, could not be sold. No blacks, no Jews, no Catholics.
Right? I don't think.
So that's an early form of redlining, right?
Mm-hmm.
Without a term, but basically that's an early form of redlining.
What I would say is this issue is also economics, though. Like we have 2 different economies in America. The median income is like $30,000. I don't know if y'all checked like the cost of rent lately in a major city, but like most people cannot live comfortably on $30,000, right? So I think that the homelessness is at an epidemic level, right? There's all sorts of people that are actually at that starvation point. People die of starvation in America. They die of malnutrition, right? So, and also every day that we go to work, guess who we're making money for? The people that are using that money to institute slavery rings. And those people are greedy. Elon Musk wants to be the first trillionaire. So if he continues to hoard wealth and he continues to build even more and more of it, he's creating more poverty. So we're not going to stay static if we don't do anything. Like things are going to get worse before we can make them get better. So I mean, there's a real possibility that we could have a food supply line crash, and then what are we going to do, right? So
Yeah.
that's why we need to be building these networks right now, like mutual aid networks. We need to be building a working class political power, because if we're not, like, these things are falling fast, right? So we could find ourselves in a situation like that. Like, uh, I don't know if any of y'all, I didn't expect half the things to happen this year that have happened this year. So like when you look at those countries and in poor countries in other parts of the world that have been through these major crises that we couldn't even imagine for most of our lives in America, like, that's on the table now. Like, our government is unstable. It's not governing, right? It's just lining its pockets. So
Yep.
that's what I would
Yep.
say.
There's a parallel between what's happened over the last year, what's going to happen over the next 3, and health, right? If we're not dying, if we haven't caught a cancer diagnosis, everything's fine, right? You think it's sort of generally in terms of black and white. Either I'm healthy or I'm dying. Where life has, other surprises in mind. And there's a lot of steps between healthy and dead. And I think that's what we're seeing happening in the country right now is, that we tended to, in general terms, we thought, well, we're fucked now. Democracy's over. We're going straight to a civil war. Except there's a lot of steps between now and a civil war
Yeah.
or any kind of revolution. And most of them suck hard.
That's a good things I've thought about that. Like what would be the tipping point? Like what have we not seen that will put us at the tipping point?
Right.
I think I asked my Trumpers at the last podcast. I asked them, like, what could he do?
But that's the thing.
Maybe
See, you always go, oh man, it's not a Republican, it's not a Democrat thing. And the very first thing you say is, I asked my Trumpers.
no. Listen, because I'm gonna let me finish what I was saying though. Because I was asking him, was it something that he could do that would change their mind about him? And they said no. So what I'm trying to say is, like, you have this elite class, but they have an army that's nowhere near elite, and it's a lot of them, like Mark, in support of them. You see what I'm saying? You have to account for those people who believe that they're a part of that, or one day they could be a part of that class too. You have to account for them. It's a lot of them. It's a lot, bro. I'm telling you, it's a lot of Mark.